two, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. I gotta go to the west side of town. That's the place to go when you gotta love with the coolest cats. It's off to Broadway where it meets at 52nd Street. Just follow the beat and you'll be bopping with the top of all the jazz and the beats. It doesn't get much finer when the changes go major than the minor. I get my kicks, some chicks are at a table and nod to the music. So you have to make it cool, baby. But just go out the edge of Charlie Parker. Everybody here on the scene knows that the bird had it. Sent it to any platter. There is no down in all the world. Nothing you can name cats so without ever any chime. It happens right through a ride. Just the place for me. Nobody. So do buddy with me. So do buddy with me. So nobody dead dog. But nobody that dead.
Hey.
Thank you for coming to the Seco Music Talk.
It's my
So
pleasure.
great to have you here.
Thank you for
and
having
so excited to
me.
have you
Yes.
because I know you have so much to share with us today. You have so much.
I hope so.
I know so. I know so. Yeah. So let's start first. You're not from Kansas City, are you? I think you're from.
I was born in San Jose, California.
Yeah.
My parents both came from Nebraska. So their parents were in Nebraska. And I was the third of 3 children. So when I was 4 years old, my parents decided they needed to go home and help their parents, which is a natural thing. So they went back to Nebraska when I was 4. And my grandpa thought that my dad should have a pony farm. So my grandpa bought my dad a pony farm, which was not enough farm and too many ponies.
Oh, no.
You know, because neither one of them knew what they were doing, but they just did it, you know, and so I learned from my dad really life improvisation. You know, I didn't know what I was learning, but I just thought he was out of his mind, you know. But he was really he was an improvisational person,
Wow.
which led me well to jazz music, you know, and. So I went to a small school, a country school, rural school in Nebraska, outdoor toilets and very Spartan situation.
Wow.
And then when I was 11, I got very interested in the drums, and that led me to my lifelong career.
Wow. And how did you end up in Kansas City then?
Well, I started playing the drums when I was 11. When I was 14, my parents took a little trip. They went back to California. And they left me in our house by myself for the first time when I was 14. And they said they had the neighbors keep an eye on me. And the neighbors didn't keep a very good eye on me. And it just so happened that the first day they were gone, a band called, a friend of mine called and said, could you play the drums with this band every night this week in this bar? And I said, I'll ask my parents. And so I put the phone down and I thought, yes, this is great. And so I said, my parents said it's okay if they will come and pick me up, because they would bring my drums. So they picked me up and I went to this bar and I played 6 nights in the bar. Every night they came and picked me up and took me to this bar.
What was the name of the bar?
The name of the bar was the Sahara Lounge, like the Sahara Desert. And it was in a bowling alley. And the band was Carol Lee and the Moonlighters. And Carol played the guitar, and Linda, his wife, sang. And then they had a bass player. And me. And so by the end of the week, I made some money, and they paid me in cash. And then I told them, you know, there was a big lie, and my dad was going to kill me, and I was freaking out, you know. And so I said, you need to come over and when I tell my dad, and be there so you can explain what's going on. And to my surprise, when they came over to talk to my dad, they said, yes, he's played with us all week, and he's better than our drummer, and we want to have him as our regular drummer in our band. So I instantly had this gig that lasted through my entire high school years.
Wow.
So if I wasn't at the school or playing in the school band or, you know, doing that kind of thing, I was playing in a band. And so that was a pretty good education in
that's
drumming,
a lot
you
of
know.
experience
Yeah.
in the spot.
They were all in their 30s, so I had I had mentors
Wow.
from that band.
Yeah, that helps a lot, especially in jazz.
Well, yeah.
So, who are your main influences, both in life and in jazz?
You know, I've had so many influences, and it just seems like it led from one thing to the next. And I've always just done that. So I started as a drummer. When I left the town, which was Norfolk, Nebraska, which is a small town where Johnny Carson came from in Nebraska. And when I left, we left on the 4th of July, just graduated from high school. We went to the next town up that had a musicians union office, because musicians were in the union way back then. And so I joined the union. The band leader asked if I could sing, and he said, I'll pay you more money if you can sing. And he suggested that I sing from the drums while I'm playing with no mic. So I started singing parts and learning things about singing while I was on stage. So it's pretty much second nature for me to sing and play the drums, because
Wow.
I learned how to sing while I was playing the drums. And then as I went along, there was a musician from Kentucky named Chuck Howard. And Chuck Howard said, you should go to Kansas City and you should call this agent. Ken Summers was his name. And so I ended up coming to Kansas City, and I got here early in the morning. I told you that my father was a bus driver too, so my father drove me down here with a group of people he was taking to the Ozarks, left me off at the bus station downtown at 6 o'clock in the morning. And so I stayed at the bus station till noon when the agent came and picked me up. No, it was fine. It was an education. It was an education, because I had never been in a town with, you know, like Kansas City. I'd never been in a city like that.
Yeah, that was a big change.
I was like, wow. I mean, I'd been in some cities, but I had, you know, I was on my own. I had all my drums. I had everything. I had all my clothes and my drums. I was here to stay. And I met 50 musicians the first day. And I was offered a gig 5 nights a week in a club. And then I was offered a couple of nights a week in another club after a couple of months. And I got myself a place. And then I got a long-term regular gig 6 nights a week. And 2 weeks later, I met Joe Cartwright, the pianist. And so Joe and I were we're the same age. And I asked him if he had a place to live, and he said, nah, you know. And I said, well, let's get an apartment, and, you know, we'll cook, I'll cook, and we'll, you know. So we started really studying jazz then, you know. Then we were 19 at the time. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of experience. I know now you're playing with Joe Strauss.
Joe Strauss,
yeah. And you have
Greg
your
Richter.
own trio now.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did it come up to the point of where you are at now?
Oh man, you know, I mean,
I know you've
there's been so
you've
much,
had
you
so
know.
many experiences
so
playing
much.
with Bobby Watson. You even play with Phil Woods.
Phil Woods, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, one thing just keeps leading to the next.
Yeah.
You know, I started listening to KANU on the radio, which is now Kansas Public Radio. So KANU in Lawrence, and Professor Dick Wright was the host of the jazz scene on Saturday mornings. So in the 70s, I would listen to all night jazz, and I would just turn the radio down low, and I'd fall asleep. And when the news came on at 5 in the morning, I'd turn the radio off. So I'd listen to jazz all night. And pretty much every night I did that for years. Bob Hammond, Bob McWilliams, Dick Wright on Saturday mornings. Dick would show these jazz films around town, so whenever he would do that, I would go and I would see the jazz films of, like I was telling you, with Monk or Miles or various people, various places, Monk or Miles or people like that. And then I was on my 10th high school class reunion. A trumpeter named Pat Morrissey said, "You should come and play at this place called City Light." And I said, "No, man, I can't. I've got to go to Nebraska to my 10th high school class reunion." And he said, "No, you got to blow that off and come to this gig, because it's going to be a great gig." And so there was a lady named Priscilla Bowman. We just wrote about her in the jazz magazine, the Jam magazine. And Priscilla had one big hit with Jay McShann. In 1955, they wrote a song called "Keep Your Hands Off Him, He Don't Belong to You." And so it was a million-seller hit, and she was, so this was 1982. It was the first week of August of 1982. I went to this place, City Light, in Waldo, the Waldo area. And Priscilla, you know, she was great. She was fantastic. But we did 2 sets, and then she was like packing up to go home. Oh. And the guy that was leading the band said, "No, you need to stay. It's another hour." And she said, "I don't do any more than that. I'm done. I'm gone. I got to go." So the club owner said, "Hey, I hear you that you can sing." And I said, "Yeah, I can sing." And he said, "Okay, so just move the mic back to the drums, and she can go home and you can sing." And so I sang, and when we got done with the set, he said, "What are you going to call your band?" You know, this is the first night I met this guy. Yeah. "What are you going to call your band?" And I said, "Well, this is City Light. Why don't we call it City Light Orchestra?" And he said, "There's only 4 of you. I mean, come on, can that be an orchestra?" And I said, "I'll look in the dictionary when I get home." You know, no cell phones, no Google. And so I looked in the, it said orchestra, a group of musicians. It didn't say a number, And so we became the City Light Orchestra, and we played there 7 years. Wow. We played that place 7 years, which totally changed my life. Made 2 records, traveled, went to New York, traveled around the country, and under the name City Light Orchestra.
Wow.
Yeah.
You even got, I don't remember who said that. Somebody said you are one of the 50 most influential people in Kansas City. That's amazing. That's amazing.
There's a magazine called Ingram's Magazine. And they had the 40 under 40. I think I was one of those at one time. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Long time ago.
You're doing so many things right now in your life. You're the editor for the Jam magazine. Jam magazine.
Yeah.
You're also a radio host, and you're also a drummer, a vocalist for the 12th Street Jump show. Let's talk a little bit about the 12th Street first.
Sure.
Yeah. Last time I was there at the Black Dolphin, we were talking earlier, and what I loved about the show is the atmosphere was different. I play at the Black Dolphin, but we kind of giving a different atmosphere. Every band that goes on stage,
sure.
But you guys are really reflecting the old days Kansas City jazz. It's amazing. I loved it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about it. 10 years already, I believe.
Yeah, 10 years. We, there's a director, producer named Mark Elderman. And Mark Elderman is now the president of the Jazz Ambassadors. And when he became the president, that's when I became the editor of the magazine. And Mark and I have worked together for quite a few years. His company, Theater League, started presenting Broadway on the road. So he brought Broadway shows into Kansas City. The Broadway that you see at the Kaufman Center now is something that is a product of what Mark started many years ago in the 1970s. And Mark came to me in the first part of 2000, of 2008, 2007, and we started discussing the idea of doing a comedy, jazz, blues radio show, and doing that from the Musicians Foundation at 1823 Highland. And so the idea was that we were going to do these variety shows that are scripted and that has music, and it focuses on a certain artist each week. So we worked out a deal with the foundation, and we did them at 11 o'clock on Saturday night. We opened the foundation at 11 o'clock, which is 2 hours earlier than they normally open, because they open at 1 a.m. most of the time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they've always opened at 1 a.m. for years. But we got them to open at 11, and then we went on at 12.
11 p.m.?
11 p.m., 11 at night.
No kidding.
And so...
Were there people there?
Oh, gosh, yeah. Oh, it was packed. Totally packed. Yeah, we did a show, and I thought the place was going to fall down. I mean, we had 120 people up there in the upstairs. Easily 120 people. All the chairs full. The bar was covered with people. Everybody was, standing room only. And that was kind of scary because there were so many people there. But what we did, that show was like born from, we go have lunch. Mark and I go have lunch. And then we bring in somebody else. So Daryl Brogdon, who's the program director of Kansas Public Radio, we brought him in. He does a show called Right Between the Ears, and he does another show called Retro Cocktail Hour, syndicated radio shows. And we wanted him to be the writer. And no, I don't want to do that, And, but Mark got KCUR to get involved, the local public radio station, KCUR. So KCUR launched the program, and it was totally live back then. So what we played, there were no edits. That was how that worked when we were at the foundation. We did that for 2 years. So in late 2009, when the show first started, I was driving to Lawrence at 10 in the morning, doing my show 1 to 4, coming back home, lots of times doing a gig at night, 7 to 11, 8 to 11, 6 to 10, and then going and having another cup of coffee, 11 o'clock showing up at the foundation, 13 hours I've been working already, and then at 12 o'clock midnight go on with 12th Street Jump. And then at 1 o'clock in the morning, Mark would say, "What are we going to do next week?" And I'd say, "I don't know." He'd look at his phone and say, "Well, it's Dizzy Gillespie's birthday. Can we do Dizzy Gillespie? Who could play Dizzy Gillespie?" And we'd say, "Well, let's see. We could get. We'd find a trumpet player that could play Dizzy Gillespie, And then we'd write the show that week, and then we'd perform it the next week. So we'd rehearse on Wednesday, we rehearse on Friday, and then we come in and do the show live. And then we start writing again on Sunday, write it Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Wednesday we'd go in and rehearse. Friday we'd rehearse, and we'd do the show again. And that was really, really fun. But that's how we designed the show. Yeah. That's we created the bits, little like Sonny Zoot Reedman, sax therapist, is one of the bits, and another of the bits is Ask the Professor, and somebody to give you advice or whatever.
Yeah.
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 So the cast has changed. Things have changed. It's gone on. Different musicians and so on. Tyrone Clark is still with us. He started original bass player. Joe
Oh.
Cartwright was 10 years with the band, and he retired from the show. And
He was there the last time.
yeah. He comes back time to time.
Yeah.
And does a guest cameo. You know, and
Yeah.
Ask the Professor is kind of his bit. You know.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
If
Yeah.
he's not there, I'll do the Ask the Professor bit.
Oh.
But just different. Mark writes the show, and we have another writer who lives in Cleveland, and it's pretty like these shows. You know, it's like we started, and then things change from week to week. Things change, and then you start to get a format, and then you just know that that's what you're going to do every
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
So what about the Jam magazine? I know you started. You said this January. I believe.
Yeah. You know, people. It's kind of funny, you know, that serendipity. You know, so it's things happen. You don't know why they happen, but they just happen. You know, you happen to meet somebody and you say something, and you know, and so I met some people who were doing the Jam magazine. Oh, I know what it was. Somebody came to the show from Jam magazine, the 12th Street Jump, and they were talking about doing, something, and I said, "Man, it's been, you know how long it's been since I've been on the cover of Jam magazine?" And they said, "No, how long?" I said, 1989. And they were like, "Wow, you know, that's like 30 years ago." And I'm like, "Yeah, 30 years ago." So then I was on the cover of the magazine. We did a show about 12th Street Jump, and then when we were shooting that and talking about it, and the magazine came out, then they said, "Hey, would you like to be the editor of the magazine?" I'm like, "No, I don't want to be the editor." And they're like, "Well, you could do it. You know, you should do it. You have a degree in writing. You should do it." So I said, "I'll try it. You know, I'll try one, but I don't want my name on it. I'm just going to try it and see what happens." So I did the Matt Cain issue. You know, I edited it, wrote a bunch of stuff, and didn't put my name on it. And then they said, "Well, we're going to have an election, and Mark's going to run for the president of Jazz Ambassadors." And I said, if Mark's the president, I'll be the editor. And they said, "Well, we'll see what happens." So they put me up as editor and put him up as president. We both were elected, and now we do it. You know, now we do the magazine. So it's pretty simple.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all about this scene in this town. You know, I've started. You know, when I came here, it was a welcome relief to find a place where, one, you can work constantly if you want to.
Yeah.
And two, the musicians are so open and ready to let you be a part of what they do, you know. And as you know, from being here 5 years, that it's fantastic here. I mean, it's like a welcoming place for musicians. And it's internationally known as one of the 4 great cities in America for jazz. So it's a cradle of jazz. And because of that, now after the Royals have won and the Chiefs have won, and we're getting all this notoriety as a destination, you know, I'm finding people like you who come here because they need to. You know, they got to go to Kansas City because it's the place.
It's a place.
And it's exciting to me because when I came here, it wasn't really known as the place. But when I got here, I was like, wow, this is awesome.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like a hidden treasure.
It's a hidden treasure.
Yeah.
It is absolutely a hidden treasure. And I'm just so thankful that I came here when I was young. And I'm thankful that I'm still here and enjoying it.
And I'm thankful you are here right now.
Oh man, it's awesome. It's awesome.
So what about your radio show? So how did you get to even have the idea to do it? We talked earlier and you said you just went back to school and you recently graduated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in the 90s, once I got that place, City Light, in the 80s, 7 years, most of the 80s I was at City Light. And during that time, a guy moved here from Detroit named Jim Robinson. He's an art director. And so Jim, one night came to City Light. I met so many people at City Light over the years, hundreds of people that I still know today, most of them. And Jim said, "You always wear that stupid hat?" That was one of the first things he said to me, and I said, "Yeah." "You don't like it?" He said, "Nah, it's okay." "You always wear that stupid suit?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "What are you doing tomorrow?" And I said, "I don't know." He said, "Can you meet me here at 11 in the morning? Wear that stupid hat, wear that stupid suit?" I said, "Yeah, okay, great." And that was when I met him, you know. So he had a setup like this with cameras and lights, and he said, "Okay, here's your script." And my script was Ella Fitzgerald, Count Basie, Oscar Peterson, George Benson. Man, if you miss these cats. And then I sang the last line from Parker's Mood, "Come with me if you want to go to Kansas City." And then he turned that into a television spot and a radio spot. And all of a sudden it was all over the television and radio advertising the Kansas City Jazz Festival in 1983. So from that, I started to get voiceover work in radio and television, you know, advertising Worlds of Fun or various things. So I did that as sort of as a side career. And then I made it when I first made an album. Jim took the album cover and did art direction for various things. And he'd call me for commercials, and we did ads in magazines and stuff. So after that long time at City Light, I thought I needed to move to Los Angeles. And I found a way to get an agent in voiceover work for radio and television. So I moved to LA, and I would go and audition and do commercials, and I'd do auditions for movies, and I had little bit parts in movies, and I got some commercials and that thing. And I started playing jazz in LA and doing things in LA. And then I would come back to Kansas City and play and do my thing here too. But at the end of about 10 years of trying to live in LA and, you know, fighting that battle of being in a big market with, you know, 50 people that can do what you do as good or better than you. You know, that's kind of the reality. And you know, a tough scene. Yeah. Not so open like this. I moved back to Kansas City, and when I came back, I had a new record that I'd recorded in LA. Bobby had just come to town. I met Bobby. I went to Kansas Public Radio, KANU, with my new record. Yeah. And Bob McWilliams, when he was interviewing me on the radio, said, "You should take over for Dick Wright. You know, Dick has passed away, and you should have this show on Saturday afternoons." I'm like, no, I can't do that. I cannot fill Dick's shoes. He said, "You don't have to be Dick Wright. You be yourself and do it." Yeah. Kind of like Jim Maris said to you. You just do it, and you be it, and be yourself. You're going to be okay. That's what I did. And I've done that show, still do it, since June of 2001. And as I told you, in 2009, we started 12th Street Jump. In 2013, I started Jazz with David Basse. And I've now made about a little over 5,000 hours of jazz radio for Jazz with David Basse. And I'm on in several markets. They're all at my website, davidbasse.com. Yeah. And a lot of the information about me is there and that sort of thing. I'm not someone who keeps things. I'm not a saver. But I have a archive at the Labadie Library at UMKC. So photographs, information, recordings, everything. I donate everything to UMKC.
That's awesome.
Because they keep it from being destroyed.
Yeah.
with my fast-paced lifestyle.
So for the camera, that's improvisation. Can you do like an introduction of the David Basse show, just on the camera?
Oh, on the
right?
radio?
Yeah, like you do on the radio.
Oh, well, I talk really low. Can I do it over here? I talk about this loud. And I say,
Just do, yeah.
oh gosh, I don't even know what to say.
Say something that comes
Here's-
from your heart.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, my special guest is Seiko. Seiko used to be an electric bass player in Cameroon, but once he came to Kansas City, they got him a big bass and made a man out of him. Here's Seiko with his jazz.
It's awesome. Something like quickly, something you want to say to the young generation, the new people. What would you say? Like, what's the advice that you will leave? What's the legacy you want to leave? And what would you say to the young generation today?
What
What's
would I
the
say
advice?
to the young generation today?
Yeah.
I would say that anything is possible. If you dream something, if you believe you can do something, you're halfway there.
That's awesome. I love it. Yeah, I love it. Yeah. Thank you again. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
for coming.
Thank
really
you.
appreciate that. Yeah.
I appreciate it, man.
You have a good
Thank
day.
you.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3. I got the west side of town. That's the place to go when you got to love with coolest cats. It's off to Broadway where it meets at 52nd Street. Just follow the beat and you'll be bopping with your top of all the jazz. It doesn't get much finer when the changes go major than the minor. I get my kicks. Some chicks are at a table and nod to the music. It's all about the music. Oh, you cool, baby. But just go up said to Charlie Parker. Everybody here on the scene knows that the bird had it. Simply than any platter. There is no all over the world. Nothing you can name jazz so without never any chime. It happens right here. This the place for me. Nobody. So do buddy with me. So do buddy with me. So do buddy dead dog. So do buddy dead. side of town, that's the place to go when you gotta blow with the blues cats. It's off the Broadway River, it meets at 52nd Street. Just follow me and you'll be off with a job on the jazzy date. It doesn't get much finer when the changes go from major than the minor. I get my kicks from some chicks around the table, and now I do the music. It's always up to me. Baby, it's because we're such a solid partner. Everybody here on the scene is that the bird at the second different anywhere. There isn't any other town in all of the world. Nothing you can name, just so alive, never any time. It happens right when you arrive. Nobody, 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 nobody. Boo boo doo boo doo doo.